I say, last days of the Maimer. So in Avodah, the whole Indian of, which is the heart of the Maimer, in a sense, the whole time of the Meraglim, was you can't change your midas. But that's the Tachlis Avodah. And Stakha too, you cannot change the midas. You can direct them, weaken them a little bit, but you can't change the way you're wired if the Avodah is Seichel only. But it has to, the point of the Maimer is, let's begin actually, the paragraph before, you say, it said three dargas before that. He identified in his daled three dargas of Ibur, Yenika, and Moichen, of gestation in terms of the midas, Yenika, nursing literally, and then the pure darga of Moichen. That third level, what that means is that Pnimis HaMoichen, which is Chachma, which is Keichma, which is Bittel, and that causes, it seems the Maimon is saying that an actual transformation. One can become a decent fellow by nature. Okay, so I say, again, the whole tiny of the Meraglim was that the Midas are from Eilam HaToyo, and therefore they're no match for Seichel at the end. The behemoth can be tamed, but it can become a mensch, is what they were saying. And the answer is, the tachlis is it could be. So Vayahas Kolev Esa'om El Moishe, we did this. Yeah, so we'll just go through again. So this is the meaning and answer to the question that Kolev silences the people with respect to Moishe. Why is he the primary objective here? That was the way the Maimon framed the question, as if he was the Iker, and the answer is he is. The whole time we're explaining till now is why can't the owner remove his own kelim? What does this all mean? She said, because of the intensity of Elam that is invested in the kelim that are embedded in Elam Hazah, that define Elam Hazah. And this translates as what midas are. Midas, the Shviras HaKelim was in midas. And everything that happens above happens within us. That's the point of it all. So the midas as such, they cannot be truly refined by the intellect. They completely rule. And again, l'chayri means here not just ruling in the sense of the Beinani, but rule in total control of even the way the midas would feel and instinctively respond to things. L'chayra, that's what he's saying here. It's true. Bemis is the avodah of the tzaddik. So tzaddik because the whole point of Tanya is that that's not possible to most of us. But the Emes says that Moshe Rabbeinu wanted that avodah. That's why Chassidus explains he sent the Meraglim into the interior of the land because he sought inner transformation, whereas Yeshua only Meraglim went only as far as Yericho, the lock, the interface between Yisrael and the outside world, only the Levushim. That's the avodah of Benyanim. But since Moshe Rabbeinu wanted it, it means a Pe'al Mamish in the end, on some level, it's Shaykh, certainly when Mashiach comes, but even before that, because such a shlichus is not in vain. So, if we're learning correctly, Pshat in the Maimah here, which is talking about transformation, it is possible, and clearly it's only through Iskashus to Moshe, which means an Avodah which is higher than Seichel. In the words of the Rebbe to Mr. Rader, Ben Zion Rader, would you like to set the agenda? And his response, actually, it's not the Rebbe's words, it's Mr. Rader's words. The Rebbe's agenda is fine for me. So that's the only way it's possible. That's as he goes on to say now. So that's Vayahas. So that's Vayahas Kolev El Moishe, the Pirish Vayahas. What does Vayahas mean? First of all, Meloshen Shtika, he's calling for Bittel. Whoa, bittul. All of these arguments and opinions and positions and convinced with such a tkifus. Step back, silence. We do a shtick in a bittul. Silence means bittul. Weine beginnes chlishes or bittul ambidus. So first it's the weakening, which is through the seichel, that is through his bonus apiseichel. But then bittul, he means here mamish, he falls short that time. I mean, not entirely certain, because he falls short here of saying the h'tשכ. But we really don't want h'tשכ, maybe, because it's just, you have that midah, it's just not your dominant one. We want the other midah that's not your dominant one to emerge. So maybe it's bittul of the way you're wired, and allowing the other components of your own neshama, your own nefesh abamis, that is, to emerge. Could be not. At any rate, the koyach for this is through Shema. Shema is the middle is Aleph, that's bittul. Pele, Aleph, connected to Haydn Ishtalshalus. It's the lowest of all the Shemis, but it's rooted in the highest. Because it's Aleph. As in the number, it's the lowest number, it's 45. Vayahas al Moishe, and it's all directed to Moishe, because Kiyadu Moshe b'chnei Shema, Moishe is bittul. Min hamayim yishisihu. That's bittul pnimis hachacham. Shemena nimshach hakoyach lifer la bittul b'nis hatos. From him, in other words, pnimis haneshama that Moishe unlocks, v'atet right? It's from there that comes the koyach to actually transform, to some degree, Pasha, to become a nicer guy than you are hardwired to be. Or the other way, if you're timid by nature and you're not a fighter, to become a fighter if that's necessary. That's what we're up to. We continue. And that's the double expression. Only Naila. First he said we will go up, Kolev. We'll inherit it. Then he added what appeared to be superfluous. We are able to do it. Well, if we're going to inherit it, we're doing it. Answer, there's two in Yonim. The Pirush Yerashna Yisrael Inyan Yerushas HaOides, that we will inherit, we will channel the Oides of Tohu. Shazen, how is that affected? That takes investure, Pchinas Birur Prati, an individual engagement in the person's personality, etc. And that all begins with Vayahas. What the bittul means is, amongst other things, this bittul and general weakening is changing the attitude of, I can't change. That's the way I'm born. That's who I am. That resignation to that that is who I am, which is normal, because that is how you were created. It's that is changing. Hitting the brake button abruptly, a sudden halt. Lav dafke. Quiet. No, it doesn't have to be this way. You don't have to be this way. Shazel, that's the Pirush ki, because nuchallah. We are able to do this. But he's given that means the key, because it's an explanation. Meaning, shatam sheyochol abir prati, the reason that we can actually change the wiring, as it were, v'yarashna oisa, and inherit the koiches of tohu. What he's implying here is that the tohu that gives the nefesh habahamis its intensity. So in a behemoth way, so we can inherit that and make that intensity in the positive way. But it's even more than that. It's actually the nature. Because l'chayda, that's not mazbeh, because l'chayda, once we inherit it, then there can be an integration. It's only the maila, the shviras hakelim, because each mid is in its own world. But if we're going to inherit, it is the Torah, kelim the tikkun, which is vata tetzaveh, and the Rabbi said, the tikkun, then it's not just one wiring, it's not just one midah, all the middas of Toyo. All of them will be expressed in Avodas Hashem. And not the shvira, not the dominant one only. Each one actually dominant and shattering the other. So we can be intensely nice or intensely combative if necessary. With the tkifos, that there's no barrier. So what's the key? What's the beer? The reason that we're able to, that we can refine. The very first step, it goes back to the first step, is achlishis v'abitul klali. So he's teaching the pasuk like this now. Here's the answer. Kolev says, Yoresh Ashna Isa. We can change. Ki yochal nuchla, we can do that. He's going back to because Vayahas. If we're not going to just have to, if we're not going to be resigned to, this is who we are, we're ready to break that, Vayahas, the silence, then we can change. So it starts and ends that way. It starts Vayahas Kolev, and then he says, so just to spell it out, like what was going on there. First of all, Vayahas Kolev, well, be quiet. We could use stronger language message. Be silenced, all of you. Enough. Enough is enough. So they're in shock. You know, what's coming next? And then he says, we can channel, with not hardwired, we can channel the Eidos the Torah, we can use all of the koiches. Even the ones that don't naturally, we're a shard of one. We're one shvira. But we contain all the midas. And then he reminds them, it's the bittul. That's the key. That's the only way. Now when he says ki yochal nuchal, he's explaining the bittul, the shvira that started the whole process. He just silenced them. And there were, as Rashi says, he thought he's going to say something terrible, and he said something, he starts saying the opposite. So the key is, because why are we able? Vayahas Kolev al Moishe. That's the pshat. I think that's what he's saying. Let's go further. So now he's emphasizing he's emphasizing that critical component of bittul that starts the whole, that's the foundation of it all. Bittul haklali is the first bittul. Before we can start changing, we've got to let go of the old. So the bittul klali is letting go of the old. It could be different. Doesn't have to be this way. And this is translated every single day. And this is translated in our Avodah every day. Every day starts off with, it doesn't have to be like yesterday. That's how the day begins. But was, it's a new day and a new beginning. You know, the famous story that Gershon Jacobson, the editor of the Allgemeine Journal, the father of Y.Y. and Simon Jacobson, relates that he was once the last to go into Yechidus, and it was already morning. The Yechidus was over. The Rebbe stood up and went to the blinds and drew the blinds and said, and now you talk, a new day. I mean, just it's a whole night exhaustion of Yechidus, and he's embracing with enthusiasm and innocence and optimism, totally a new day. That's the bittul klali. It's a new day. Yesterday was a chasana, and the chasan was here. He went to the mikveh the first time in his life before davening. He came out of the mikveh. I didn't put no shir before, no explaining. Just got to the mikveh. I just can't explain this. It was, I feel completely like reborn. Also, it's just that's what it is. It's a return to the womb, and it's rebirth. 40 days of gestation. That's the most important critical days. That's a 40 saw of the mikveh, literally the womb. And he with pshitos, experienced it. I'm looking at him in awe and wonder. Dunk every day, and it feels good only because you went into the shower, got refreshed. So that's the waters. But him was the pure ruchnius, anayatog, and ready for a new way of seeing himself, of the world, everything. So we begin every day with what? This general thank you. It all starts with gratitude. How do you have bittul gratitude? Whether you don't take title for anything, and it's all God's gift, and every day is a new day and new possibilities. Gratitude and bittul are the same address. Bittul is not walking around verkwetscht. On the contrary, it's very, very effusively thankful and grateful. I think I've mentioned this once. Generally, all the korbanos, the korban mincha, the meal offering, they're all non-chametz, all unleavened. The only exception is two exceptions. It's Shavuos and the korban toida, the Thanksgiving. So the Thanksgiving offering has to be dafka chametz. Both chametz and not chametz of the 40 chalas. The Thanksgiving bittul that you have to have. That's what's chametz. The answer is yes. When you say thank you, that's when you do so with all of your creativity and not in the muted shkoyach. It's an appreciation, and you invest in that, and you write a long thank you letter, and you think about what was done for you, and you're elaborate. That's where being very wordy, just to start and expressive really belongs. It's in your bittul. To the korban toida is dafka chametz. A resounding thank you and a big embrace and a hug. And first you're overwhelmed, Taka. Well, I can't believe. But then when you start to internalize the gift that you have, you're extremely animated. But everything you have should be animated in your thanksgiving. You're giving everything. That's where he becomes the big chassid. When he says thanks to somebody else, of course, bittul. But when he's done something and he's expecting acknowledgement, and like why he didn't say acknowledge, didn't give a compliment. It's a danger. It's a danger. No names and so on, but there's a pitfall. There was that there was a chassid amiti, a person that worked on himself daily for 60, 70 years, and without exaggeration, 60 years, since his be'emes. And bereach min hakovid be'emes, and allergic to COVID. And if he got COVID, acknowledgement, he bristled. He was allergic to attention and COVID. The problem was, he never gave a compliment. He never complimented anybody else. So one day, a dear friend, Fabrengen, and he expressed this in a very, very strong way. He was concerned later, afterward, the Fabrengen, that he overstepped the boundary. And the recipient, the chassid, said to him, "You've changed my life, thank you." The words were like Kamayim, Karim, Al Nefesh Hayefa, like life-giving waters in a parched soul. After 60 years of avoid that to hear this. But for the other, he was so bittle that he kind of transferred it to others, but that's misdirected. The other person has to hear the thank you and has to hear the compliment, especially these days in children and students. It was quite the moment. Okay, so first has to be the bittul klali. So first has to be the thank you, the bittul, the letting go. I don't have to be like this. I really could be a shtickle mensch. And then you start working. So the bitter prati b'chon yon the adam, and that takes investment and the way a person has to critically examine the way I respond to this and to that, and then work through it all. Basaka meshach halayim, and it comes to bitter prati and all of the aspects of a person's life and his pursuits during the day. Now that's was like talking about a person out there in the world. The same thing applies to the one who's sitting and learning. We're talking to Bachrim, Kolev, Galait. Even though the whole day is Torah, so even in the Torah learning, it's the same thing. You learn Torah also with Yeshus. He's got to be right. You got to get the last word. He's learning too the same thing. Has to be a bitl klali before he starts learning. This is the Ibish's Torah, etc. And therefore it can entertain another view. Imagine entertain another view opposite him and embrace it and be happy that the person gave him the other perspective and embrace it as his own. Same thing in the Ilam HaTorah. So that answers, that address the union of what? Of the double. Ki yochel nuchala, he's giving, he say, why can we do it? Vayahas Kolev, because of bit. He's going back to how they start, got your attention, stopped you in your tracks. This is the foundation. Now, what about the ladders and going to heaven? What's all this about? And that which Kolev said, if he will say, Moishe will say, Asus sulmos, make ladders. He would tell us to make ladders v'olu l'rakia and go up to the heaven. We wouldn't listen. We would. And then he went Oli Nala, and then he said, we will go up. Yerashno says the rest of the pasuk. So what does it mean with that? How he said Lahida is Kolev is pointing to Allah bittul l'shalamayle mitavadas. This is not a rational bittul. This is got to be a bittul that goes beyond my appreciation. And not a bittul just tailored to what? It means total surrender. Even when, hey, so far, so much, yeah. That's the whole empowerment. So it's this Lamayli Mitavadas, this recognition of I don't set the agenda. That's what that means, Lamayli Mitavadas. It's not my program. That's in this koyach to pale the chalishus and the bittul klali that then follows the general weakening and the general bittul of the intensity of the emotional of the makeup of the person. And then can become the process of actual engaging individual characteristic traits, etc. So that's the meaning of. So what in one word? What's the meaning of? If Moishe would say, make ladders and we'll go to the heavens, we won't do it. It means he's pointing to what? That the Avodah has to be taka a bittul that is unconditional, the mailim in my tam v'das, and a complete surrender, as it were, of the agenda. The Rebbe's agenda is fine for me. Yeah, that's what it means. I don't know about you guys, but the whole Fabeng was worth it just for that line. I mean, there was gems. Many. He says he has more stories, so to bring him back. Fatam calls in that, for those that are listening, I'm talking about Fabrengen with, or listening to the recording with Rabbi Zalmi Rader, who's telling stories of his primarily Ben Sina, his grandfather, and his extraordinary yechidus and direction and so on. His father received, his grandfather and father. Atam shakol zenase they Kolev. So why is it everything is bediuk? So why is Kolev the one that's doing all this? The fisher Kolev begematria Eliyahu. No, add it up. Kolev is gematria 20 and 30 and 2. How much is that? 52. And Eliyahu is 52. Begematria ban. What's ban? Ban. What Shem ban is Yudke Vavke spelled, where the filling letters are what? Hey. So the hey is spelled not hey aleph, or not hey yud, but hey, and so on. So that's the differential. And so that renders the numerical value of 52. So what's the Inyan? Hey is in general is malchus, is behavior. V'yaduah Eliyahu b'chinas ban dema. What's Eliyahu? So his gematria is ban, but ban of what? Of ma of the bittel. So what does it mean in simple language? He translates that bittel into action. That's what it means. Ban de ma. All the names of Hashem are all integrated. They're all Yud Kei Vav Kei. So all the various gematrias, not gematrias, milui, the various ways the letters are spelled out are all present in the other spelling as well. It's not another name of God. It's one God and one name of God, Yud Kei Vav Kei. So there is the union of Shema, they're integrated. This is the shiluv of the fusion of the various names of Hashem. Shemban de Shema, which means, Ma we just said now is bittul, and Ban is hey, which is Bina, the first hey, the second hey is Malchus. Bottom line, it's taking Bina receives from Chochma and Malchus receives from the Midas. It's all implementation, actualization. So Eliyahu is the actualization in Pel Mamesh of the bittul of Shema. He's the intermediary, and that's why it's Kolev, it was Eliyahu, that is the intermediary that's going to translate this bittul, the Vayahas Kolev, into behavior. Vayahas Kolev Amel Moishe, and that's the Inyan that Kolev silenced the people too with respect to Moishe, lahamshich habitl, b'chinas ma, to connect to that bittul of Moishe Rabbeinu. He said about himself, "Anachnu ma," what are we, right? L'bchinas ban shalom, to the practical implementation level of the the Eidos the Torah bekedim the Tikkun. And why is he the one to do so? Given shekol mishnei, because he straddles both worlds. That's Eliyahu, and that's Kolev, the same gematria. Ban de ma, ban of ma, not just ban on its own, but ban as it's connected to the bittul of ma. Yeah, we got that technically at least. Yes. Yeah. Let's conclude the Vazel Gamasher Kosov. And this is what the Pasuk says. We just speaking about Eliyahu now. So what's the final Nevuah? This is the final Nevuah, friends, of the final of Tanakh, the final statement. Talking about Eliyahu Novi, he says, I'll send that great awesome day, I'll send Eliyahu Novi, V'hishiv Levavis Albonim, and he will bring back the heart of the fathers to the children, but it's through the children. Din Ovas Ubanim, what is fathers and children? But Ruchnius, what is his Ruchnius and Meichan Midas? That's Meichan and Midas. When we say Meichan, we mean here Pnimis HaMeichan, Chachma and Midas. And they're two worlds apart, and Ragdim said that they're irreconcilable. You are who you are, and that's what it is. No. Leishiv, Heishiv Levavis Albanim. And it's Eliyahu that will do that, because he is Ma'adaban. Well, the Hashiv Levavis Alabanim is to bring together the heart of the Ovis to the children, the fusion of, in the deepest way, of Mayach, of absolute objectivity. Chochma means the Eibishter's agenda. That's what Chochma means. Here he spells it out. Here's his actual transformation. He meant that all along, but now he's spelling it out. Then it'll be perfect when Mashiach comes. But he's saying the Avodah is even now. That was the whole struggle, the whole victory over the struggle with the Meraglim. It's a process, but the shleimus will be Vihyas Mashiach Tzidkeinu sheyovi galenu b'kolev mamash. Okay, let's look at the Teichano Inyonim. You have it. I posted it again yesterday. He ran out now, but he left. He's going to chazir the Maimer. Aaron. He started already, had a birthday, and this is the Shabbos after Gimel Tmuz. Vayahas Kolev. Tainis amaraglim hu ki chazako mimeno kavayachol. That Meraglim's taina was that the land, the occupants are stronger than him. As Chazal say, brought Yerasha, Afila Balabais, and Yochel Heitzi Kolev, even the master cannot take out his Kalim. Well, that's the Shviras HaKalim, Shoelamatikim, and the Yochel Levarnis, is that they're saying, Balabas is Elamatikim. God is creator, and naturally is the world as he made the world. These are the rules. The rules, them are the rules. And you can't elevate the sparks of Toyo. Shalamali Meno, that comes from a world that precedes creation, and it's when it comes down here, it's wild and crazy, and it cannot be tamed. The Yosim Rubim V'Takifin, because they're many and intense, Bilish Ben Erech, incomparably so, and that's life. And that was their taina. Avodah, and what does it mean in avodah? The taina, that's the way I'm born. You can take if I'm midas, this is how he is midas. Koshakeres is inflexible like a cedar. Mitzad shorsham l'mayla moichin, and that's true because the midas are rooted deeper than intellect. Omnam, however, that's all mitzad ishtal shalos betachlas hakavana. The purpose is to bring the godly. That no, Shambeichin Yifulu Bir Vizicha Midas, that not that the Meichin just gives up. I know the truth, but there's no way I can live by it. But no, it should be pale, the bitter Zichroch of the Midas, Rachka Kona to become supple, a real change. Shetia Nagosa Pi Meichin, that it conducts itself by the Meichin, it means here the Pnimis Meichin, it's a Vayahas Kolev. L'maylim and Aseichel, not again the person's agenda. Until the midas become one with that objective relationship. The Rebbe's agenda is fine for me. It all can only begin with a general chlishus, which means again the acknowledgement it doesn't have to be this way, and then the change can happen. Vayahas Kolev, and that's the Kolev silence of Lashon Shtika, silencing in a bittul el Moishe to Moishe Shema, because he embodies bittul, he is bittul. That's where the care comes to transform the midas. Right? These are all in all of Yerashla, so we will ascend and inherit. We will channel Yerusha Sa'iris, the Toyo, al Debir Prati. We'll take every aspect of Toyo, not just the one that defines me, but all of it. All of these midas, and they'll all be challenged in an individual way. We're able to, never forgetting, and he's drawing us back to the foundation of it all. That all starts with the bittul and Vayahas Kolev el Moishe. That's where it all begins. That's how it starts, and that's how it happens, and that's how it ends. And the shleimus that will be, of course, Vihyas Mashiach Tzidkeinu. Now, mamish. Tomorrow, Beis Hashem, the new Maimer, beautiful Maimer, Chukas Balak. Good Chodesh, everybody. B'sudas Tovos.